Hello, everyone, and welcome to this hangout, a surprise hangout. We had to change our plans this evening. We were meant to do another hangout, but at the last minute, we've decided to do a discussion on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Joined by my very good friend and subscriber, Alan Kalo. Thanks for being here, Alan.
Thank you, Ollie. Nice to be here.
Excellent. And we're going to do our first Doctor Who kind of discussion. We've done loads of Doctor Who reflections on the show itself with our friend Jack, who sadly can't be here today due to personal reasons. But we're going to talk about some news that I didn't actually do a video about this on my channel. I don't think Alan did on his.
I did.
Oh, you did? Sorry, I didn't see it. My apologies. Russell T. Davies, the showrunner who brought the show back with the new series in 2005, is returning to run the show for Doctor Who after the departure of Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall. Well, the first thing to say is, well, thank fuck for that. I mean, okay, take it with a grain of salt. But I want to say thank you, Russell. Thank you, Russell, for coming back, because for nothing else, whatever he may, whether he agrees or not with the female doctor thing, for nothing else, his writing is incredible. So I'm hoping that he's going to really reinvigorate the show, getting the scripts back to where they used to be when he wrote for Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. But I want to cast your minds back to after Russell left, when Moffat took over, because this, I think, is when the show's kind of ideals and kind of agendas, shall we say, were sort of like being pushed. Less so early on in the Matt Smith era, but as time went on, you could see it progressively getting more and more frequent. But with the Matt Smith era, let's just put this into context. I've been watching it recently because I'm reviewing it, and I get the sense that they tried to make Doctor Who more quote-unquote mature because of all the sexual humor and these kind of undertones, and the fact that Moffat would write the characters, the female characters, in such a sort of sassy, like over-the-top, condescending way. Like sometimes they would almost belittle the Doctor and be the primary focus. I did like some of the Matt Smith companions, but certainly when you got to Clara, it started to become the focus, and into Capaldi's era. But even with Amy, she sometimes was the main focus, and also River Song, that sort of became the main focus. So I think that Moffat was trying to push more for the sort of the female characters being the focus. And at the time, I thought nothing of it. I thought, okay, fine, they want to give the females more to do. That's perfectly fine. And Matt Smith was good. I mean, the writing was very iffy in Moffat's era. And then in Capaldi's era, it started to become more apparent the direction the show was going to go in. With the end of Series 8, his first series, they changed the Master into a woman. And some people are okay with this, and that's fine. And Michelle Gomez is a talented actress. I remember watching her the first time and thinking, okay, she's certainly tried to depict the insanity of the role that John Sim had in the David Tennant era. But I don't know, I just thought Time Lords, again, regenerating? Come on, please. Yeah. And then, so I sort of let that go, and then I thought, all right, I'll continue watching the show and see what happens. I wasn't going to give up on it straight away, because I was still enjoying some of the stories, and I wanted to see Capaldi. I wanted to support Peter Capaldi in his journey. And then his second season happened. It's well. By the end of his second season, I was done. I'd had enough. The story Hellbent, which I mean, the appropriately named Hellbent, where
really,
where they literally had a male white Time Lord, Rassilon, regenerates into a black female woman. Again, it's nothing on the actors, but clearly, and there's no reason for this regeneration to happen. This regeneration to happen. It's just, it was all done for an agenda.
Yeah.
And
and that smarmy anti-male remark that the newly regenerated Time Lady has to say that, oh, that was my only male incarnation. How do you put up with all that ego?
Yeah, exactly. And this brings me on to onto my next point. I'm sorry to ramble on, but I want to address this. Like, no matter what I think of this, someone is going to accuse me of being a sexist. And that's not the case. I hate to, like Alan said a while ago, when this all kicked off, when Jodie was cast as the Doctor. I don't want to tread on eggshells with the show. I don't want people to look at me and go, "Oh, he's a sexist because he doesn't like the female Doctor." I have valid reason for that. The reason why I don't like all of this stuff is because it's an agenda. It's a political correctness agenda. They're box ticking. The reason why they went for a female Doctor is to appease that crowd. It wasn't for creative storytelling or for anything like that. It was also because they were desperate, I think, because Capaldi, I don't think he was as popular as some of the other Doctors. And I'm not discrediting him. He just wasn't as popular, sadly. So once he was leaving, they thought, well, let's get a woman in and see if that changes things up. I would have been open to the concept of it if they'd explained it with the continuity, but they didn't. And they didn't cast Jodie for the right reasons. They cast her because they were trying to meet requirements and they were trying to meet the BBC's ideals. And I'm sorry, that's not good enough. So the fact that Russell is coming back is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but like Alan, I have some concerns. But to be honest, I might give it a chance. I'm considering giving it a chance, but I mean, there is I think a 95% chance that they will cast another woman as the Doctor. And again, if the right actress comes along, maybe I'll give it a chance. But to be honest, the continuity of the show has been so fucked anyway. I mean, and just hearing everything what they've done in the Jodie era with the Timeless Child. I mean, I've watched the first episode of Jodie and I wasn't convinced by her, and I just don't like the sound of what I hear, and I just think that this to me sounds like the last chance for Doctor Who. Literally, Russell coming back is the last chance to get this show back to where it used to be. If Russell can tell the BBC to scrap their fucking ideals and change, get the show back to how it was in 2005, then I think we could see the return of the show once more. But at the moment, I don't know if Doctor Who has much of a future. I really don't. I mean, they cut the episodes right down. I mean, the new series is coming on Halloween, and it's only 6 parts. It's one story, and it's 6 episodes. And then next year we got 3 more stories, and then Jodie's leaving. I mean, to some people that'd be a relief. I just don't think they have a clear direction anymore. It feels like since the Moffat era, they've been sort of pushing more towards an agenda, and I think that the show has lost all of its creativity. And I hate to say that, but I do. I mean, okay, from a production standpoint, it's still quite good, but the show running has been terrible. And I'm sorry to go on, but I think honestly that Doctor Who, Russell coming back is the kick up the arse it needs. But again, go in with reservations, but be happy about it. That's what I say. But over to you, Alan. What do you think of all this? Taking everything into context with what I've just mentioned about the the Moffat era and the Chibnall era.
Yeah, no, I'm with you all the way. Absolutely. I just want to clarify that I did make a video on my channel about Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall leaving Doctor Who next year, but I didn't get around to making a video about Russell T Davies coming back. So I made a video about half of what we're talking about today, but didn't do a video yet about the other half. But
fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I'm with you all the way, man. I mean, first of all, some pro Jodie Whittaker fans out there who may be listening to this or watch my videos or whatever, they need to understand. I sincerely hope they understand. I mean, I think I've made it more than clear enough now that just because I am not in support of a female doctor on Doctor Who does not mean that I'm a sexist pig. Okay.
And that's one of the things that annoys me. We have to keep justifying that,
Yeah.
Why is it so hard just to respect our opinions? We're not trying to shame on you. We're just, we're not trying to discredit, anyone. We just have an opinion, and we're trying to be civil. We're not ranting about it. Well, maybe we did in the past, but not now.
Exactly. And if I really were a sexist pig, about them changing the Doctor into a woman, then I think my attitude would be, I hate them changing the Doctor into a woman because I hate women. That's being a sexist pig. Okay. I don't hate women. I love women. Always have, always will. Ladies, I love you. But, the Doctor, to me, is a male character. Okay. And I don't see why that's so difficult to understand. I mean, look at all the male incarnations of the character that we had, the long line of male incarnations of this character before Jodie Whittaker came to town. Every single, we've had 13 incarnations of the Doctor that were all male. 13 when you count the War Doctor played by John Hurt. Let's not forget him.
Yeah.
All of them male. And I've always said in the videos on my channel, all the years that I grew up watching the show, I'm in America, so they would show Doctor Who on my local public television station, which back in the day was KTEH in San Jose, California. Sadly, they're not around anymore, but that was the Doctor Who TV station when I was a kid. All the years that I grew up watching the show as a kid, the Doctor was a man, okay? The Doctor had been a male character on TV for over half a century, okay? 54 years, in fact. Even though, yes, I know there were a couple of times when the show wasn't on the air, yeah. But overall, the Doctor had been a male character for over half a century.
They had female like Time Ladies, like Romana and Rani.
Yes,
so it's not like this hasn't been addressed before.
Yeah, and also look, if they decided to do a Doctor Who spin-off show about Romana, who I guess is arguably the most famous Time Lady character on Doctor Who, with maybe the Rani a close second. But if they wanted to do a spin-off show about Romana, I would have supported that 100%.
Yeah.
Totally.
Why change pre-established characters? Like even Daniel Craig said it recently about James Bond. Why can't you just write better roles for women? Why do you have to mess with pre-established characters who are male?
Exactly. Why shamelessly raid established male characters and make them female? Just to satisfy the feminists out there who've been banging the drums that all these established male characters should now be female. Just like these feminists who've been banging the drums for them to change James Bond into Jane Bond. Which the co-producers Barbara Broccoli and a woman besides and Michael G. Wilson have said, no, James Bond is a male, and still some of these feminists just won't accept that. There was one guy that I know who actually thinks that I won't mention his name, of course, but he mentions that he thinks Emily Blunt would be a great female James Bond, and he said he wants her to actually say, my name is Bond, Jane Bond.
Come on.
Yeah, really. And I told him, look, the co-producers on the James Bond series have said the Doctor is that James Bond is a male character, and and she's a woman besides, and she has said, James Bond is a male character, and that's that. And this guy responded, it's a fictional character. Male fictional character.
Yeah, but James Bond isn't a Time Lord. He can't regenerate,
Exactly.
And
Ian Fleming would be rolling in his grave if they changed James Bond into a woman.
And can I just add on your point about James Bond? I know you and I have different opinions about it, but the recent Bond movie, No Time to Die, one thing we can agree on is that it treats the women really well. All of the women, I think, in the film have great roles, and I think they're not all just kick-ass for the sake of it. Like Ana de Armas's character Paloma, she has a quirky personality. She doesn't just jump into bed with Bond. Madeline's the kind of damaged, tortured character. Moneypenny's Moneypenny. Then there's Nomi, who is kind of the kick-ass agent. But she's not. But she doesn't take over the movie. That's the thing I appreciated about No Time to Die, is that the characters were used sparingly. They were used to the right effect. It was still Daniel Craig's movie. So what I would like to draw on is that if perhaps maybe they had a male Doctor for the 13th, but cast someone as Romana as the companion, I've been open to that. So it would have been like a dual protagonist show. Uh, so I think bringing back Romana is something that the show should have considered a while ago. Not saying like us needed to consider it, but maybe certainly with Capaldi, it would have worked. I just don't know. Like I feel like they are, like you say, they can approach this completely the wrong way. But
yeah,
I think because look at Tom Baker and Romana, that partnership, both Romanas, really good, and it felt
but both of them
actually not pushing for an agenda, but it was showing that it could be diverse and it could be something that could cater for all, and it gave the female viewers someone to look up to. Jodie Whittaker's not that person. I'm sorry, but she's a nice lady in interviews, but no.
And by the way, has anybody else pointed this out? The fact that they made the Doctor a woman, and now this female version of the Doctor is going around and spouting off all this anti-male shit, when the fact is the Doctor had been a male himself/herself. The Doctor had been a male for so many years, so why would the Doctor talk that badly about men all of a sudden?
So now the Doctor's a hypocrite. Splendid.
Yeah, exactly, Ollie. So they clearly had an agenda for doing it, and again, look, my argument is this. The thing about changing the Doctor into a woman, folks. I didn't grow up watching her on Doctor Who. I grew up watching him on Doctor Who. Him, damn it, him. End of story.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't like women. I love women, but the Doctor to me is a man. There's nothing wrong whatsoever with the Doctor being a man. It's like I'm sensing this that maybe the Me Too movement has gone just a little too far, where it's like people seem to have this idea that all women are perfect and angelic and all men are the spawn of Satan. So now all these established male characters now have to be changed into women. I mean, the producers of James Bond have said that no, they will not change James Bond into a woman, thank God. But I think they're like banging the drums that for them to change Indiana Jones into a woman, and they might do that with Indiana Jones 5 in the sense that there's a rumor going around. It's only a rumor, folks. It could be bullshit, but there's a rumor going around that the movie will end because Harrison Ford is really old now.
He'll be about 100 years old by the time the movie comes out. So,
yeah. But the rumor is that at the end of the movie, he's basically going to pass the fedora on to Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's playing the female lead in the movie, and that she will be like the new female Indiana Jones. It's only a rumor. It not true at all, but
let's be honest, we've seen that movie. It's called Tomb Raider. It stars Alicia Vikander.
Yes, you already have a female Indiana Jones, exactly, Laura Croft. And by the same token, I would not want them to change Laura Croft into Larry Croft, just as I wouldn't want them to change Wonder Woman into Wonder Man, and on and on. I mean, Laura Croft, definitely female, and she's a kick-ass female besides.
And just to put it out there, to clarify once again, because we have to, that you're not saying that you're against, males or females having large roles. That's not what you're saying. You're just saying, like what I said about pre-established characters being messed with, that when it doesn't need to be, or when it doesn't make sense to do so. That's all we're saying. We're not against. I'm not against women having big roles in movies. I mean,
no, of course not.
Do it for all I care. But why does it have to be all these characters we know and love? I think.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the whole Doctor Who thing that kind of split people down the middle, and it's Jodie's comment about the white male gaze is just ridiculous because
she
clearly didn't see the classic series or any of the new series, and she obviously doesn't know anything about Romana or. Look, half the companions are female. Half of the companions are female. So, why do people think that the show? I mean, obviously, only having male doctors, okay, fine, but does that mean it's a bad show? No, of course not, because there have been plenty of occasions where the female companions have had to take the lead in the story. So they've always made it, the Doctor's the central character, but the companion is the next central character. So I think that's a nice balance. And obviously sometimes the companions are male, sometimes they're female, but it works. You know, it's a formula and it works. But this
Mhm.
time, like having Jodie in the lead and then Bradley Walsh is the companion, and then I don't know, just like there's no dynamics with these companions. I mean, the companions in Jodie's era are terrible. They really are. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but
So I've heard. So I've heard. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's not even just that. It's like the show itself is there's clearly no passion for it. It's just the writing. Like no
Yeah.
one cares enough to do something different. I mean, Chibnall thinks that the only thing he's done, well, he thinks he's done something great with it, but the only thing Chibnall has really done that's changed anything about the formula is casting a woman as the Doctor. The stories are still not great. I mean, he's been working on the show for a long time, and I think maybe somebody else running the show probably would have been better, but whatever.
Mhm.
It's what's done is done, and I just don't understand why. You know, I thought Chibnall was a big fan of the show. I thought he had respect for the
Yeah.
continuity, but I
Yeah.
guess he doesn't.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing,
And
like, I think Doctor Who's continuity was probably already fucked anyway. But
mhm.
surely there are ways you can try to kind of merge things together or ignore things, like make things non-canon, like like the things in the TV movie that I guess
Right.
are kind of non-canon, like the Doctor being half human, which is ridiculous. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if that's actually true about the Doctor being half human, because it would explain quite a bit why he loves Earth and the people of Earth so much and revisits Earth more than any other planet.
you wouldn't
But
fucking love Earth now with the way this political agenda is going.
yeah,
But
he
yeah,
wouldn't want to come back to Earth now. Yeah, good point, Ollie. Good point. But the fact that the makers of the new Doctor Who series basically chose to ignore that and not touch it with a 10-foot pole, and it's never been mentioned again about the Doctor being half human. Okay, that's fine. So it's basically a mystery. Is the Doctor really half human? Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. We don't know. But
the thing is
we
as
should
well,
probably
because
just
the premise is time travel.
yeah
Whenever you introduce that into a show, there's always margin for it to become so convoluted that they
yeah
can just use the excuse of, oh, it's a time travel show. Oh, it doesn't have to make sense. Different timelines. Oh, different timelines. It's like,
yeah
well, no. I mean, the thing is with Doctor Who, like even though the show finished and then started again, there was
yeah
always the same continuity. And I appreciate Russell inventing that piece of history of the Time War, because that at least bridged the gap between the two eras of the show, and it
hmm
allowed the story to feel like it was less of a reboot and more of a continuation, just more of a modernization of the show, which I thought was clever, and it was handled really well. So yeah, and it
yeah
actually explained a lot of what happened maybe after what we didn't see after the Eighth Doctor's era, but and thankfully they filled in the gaps now. But
yeah.
again, it's just where do they go from here? Like whoever takes, I mean, well, obviously Russell's coming back, so I don't know what Russell can do to really revive this show. Like, is he going to ignore Jodie's era? Probably not, but
Yeah. I
I just
mean,
don't know.
he does have the option, and it's been mentioned quite a few times online by some of the fans who agree with you and me. He does have the option to simply retcon the retcon and just wipe it and just ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. I think the best retcon that could possibly be done, if I was going to be the new showrunner and I'm going to go in there and try to fix the damage that Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker have done to the show. First of all, I would start the episode with the brand new Doctor with the very end of Peter Capaldi's uh, last story, and start with him doing his closing monologue, his farewell monologue, and then he regenerates not into Jodie Whittaker, but into a new male incarnation, and they could somehow mention at some point in the episode that the doctor had, oh, I had a dream that I was a woman, and oh, it was quite an interesting experience.
You just reminded me of that scene where David Tennant has a scene like that in one of his stories, when he turns human and he's
Yeah,
like, "I dream I'm this adventurer in the year 2007." Obviously, that's different to this, but
yeah.
still,
Or
it
or,
just
or
reminded me.
his yeah, or there's a famous incident. I mean, really famous. What they did with the TV show Dallas, where they had a whole season where one of the main characters died, and then in the very next episode they brought the character back to life, and they just mentioned that the whole season was just a dream. It was all just a dream. It never happened, and they actually had the balls to do that, to say the whole previous season was just a dream, as a
Did
way of
people
bringing back this
not
one
react
particular.
very well to the character's death then? Or...
Yeah, and they did that all in the name of bringing back this particular character back to life and bringing back this particular actor. Was the actor's name Patrick Ewing? I think, if I have the actor's name right. But yeah, they did that on Dallas. That the whole season was just a dream, just so they could bring back his character back to life. And they could just make it that Jodie Whittaker's era was all just a dream, or at the very least say that her doctor is from an alternate universe. That maybe Capaldi's doctor regenerated into a woman in an alternate timeline, alternate universe. But the real timeline, for the timeline that we've been watching since the first Doctor, William Hartnell, that Capaldi really does in fact regenerate into another man, as he should.
Yeah, I mean, and also, like, in regards to what you said about spin-off shows, I could see that as well. Like, if Jodie Whittaker was cast as Romana, they could do like a spin-off show. I mean, there was a rumor they were going to do a spin-off show with the Doctor's daughter, Jenny, although I don't think that ever came to be. But like, why can't they just make their own show? Like they did it with Sarah Jane. She got her own show. Sadly, it didn't finish because she passed away. But I mean, it was sort of put on the kids channel, but still, I enjoyed the show. Like for what it was basically it was a sort of babyier version of Doctor Who, but it was still good.
And I know they allowed the Doctor to make a couple of cameos, once as David Tennant and once as Matt Smith, right?
Yes, and actually Joe Grant cameoed in it once.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, Joe Grant, my favorite companion. Yeah, she came back.
Yeah, I've got one of the David Tennant Blu-rays, and there's they actually put the episode of Sarah Jane on the special features. So I watched the story that he was in, The Wedding of Sarah Jane. It was really good actually, and he's I mean, he obviously takes more of a center stage than she does, but yeah, I think I saw the Matt Smith one as well. That was quite good.
I think Matt Smith is in the same episode as Katie Manning as Joe Grant, right? They're together.
Yes, they are, because there's a moment where the two characters reconnect, of course, because obviously he's regenerated a number of times since he last saw her, and I think that's quite an emotional moment. So like they could do that. Like, and Russell did that. He created those shows like Torchwood, Sarah Jane, and like acted spin-offs. So I don't know why they felt casting a female Doctor was the way forward. If like making your own show surely would be the best thing to do, because it's fresh, it's new, you're not kind of leeching off something that's kind of tired and worn down. Yeah.
I mean, the clear option was for them to do a spin-off show with Romana, which I would have supported 100%. And we haven't seen Romana in so many years, but she is a time lady, so she definitely could have regenerated since the last time we saw her, when she was played by
God, she deserves a better regeneration than the one she got.
Yeah. I mean, the last time we saw her, Lalla Ward played her, and then, of course, the late, great Mary Tam before her. So she definitely could have regenerated since we last saw her, so it would have been no problem whatsoever to cast another actress as Romana.
And the thing is, as well, like, even though Romana's kind of trapped in the other universe,
E-Space.
E-Space. Thank you. Yeah, E-Space. But they could do, like, they could have someone else be Romana, but as like a prequel incarnation, so she could be before Mary Tam's version.
And then, that's another way. Yeah.
And then so that way, because that way you don't affect the continuity, and Lalla Ward's Romana is still there with the K9 Mark 1 in E-Space. And then otherwise, it's either that or find a way to get Romana out of E-Space.
Right.
I mean, have an incarnation after Lalla Ward. But it could work. There are ways that it could work. It's just nobody thinks of these things.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would have supported a Romana TV series to the hilt. I would have watched it. I would have supported it. Because I'd love to see what Romana's been up to since we last saw her. Or, as you say, a prequel show before she was in her Mary Tam incarnation. That would have worked as well.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do a show of Romana as she is now, I mean, yes, I'm sure they would have found a way to get Romana out of E-Space. If the Doctor could get out, then maybe Romana could have found a way to get out as well. But instead, they went for the wrong decision of rating the Doctor character himself and making the Doctor female, and that was totally the wrong way to do it. And as you said, they did it clearly because they had an agenda. They did it all in the name of diversity and political correctness and rah girl power, and no respect was shown to the longtime fans of the show. None.
No.
And
It does almost feel like they are trying to do their own show. You know,
yeah.
it's just called Doctor Who. They've just taken the Doctor Who tagline, and it's like Chibnall's like, well, let's just basically change everything that we've already done. And that's the thing that Moffat kept doing as well when Matt Smith and Capaldi were on the air. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to change this. I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to do this. Like Matt Smith's last story, Time of the Doctor, a good story. I like the story, but in the end, it's like Moffat, he's got his ego planted all over it. You know, the fact that he's the writer that has the power to, you know, change the rules so that now the Doctor has like basically an unlimited amount of regenerations. So the Doctor's immortal now. Oh, great. So, and he counts the David Tennant fake regeneration as canon. I don't understand that. Like, he didn't change. He okay, the energy was bursting out of him, but then he put the energy into his hand. So that doesn't count to me. But for some reason, Moffat counts that. I find that bullshit. He just did that so that Matt Smith's incarnation would be like the 13th one or whatever, so he could get a new cycle. And it was clearly Moffat again with an agenda, like, "Oh, look at me! I'm the one who's got this." Oh, you know. I'm sorry. I know it's a minor thing to complain about, but it's just. I mean, obviously they had to do that so that the show could continue. I understand they have to adapt so the show can continue, but if you do it for the right reasons, then fair enough. If you do it for the progression of the show, that's fine. But if you do it just for the sake of it because you can, then I'm sorry, there's got to be a reason as to why, and it's got to work for the fans as well. And I don't think the fans have really been treated with enough respect. I mean, obviously some people have loved Jodie, and that's fine. Kudos to them, but for the rest of us, you know, it's been like, you know,
exactly. I mean, there's an old saying,
"Here, just end," you know.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, there's an old saying that goes, just because you can do a particular something does not necessarily mean that you should do it. And I just feel that changing the Doctor into a woman, that no, they shouldn't have done it. The Doctor had been a man for so many years and so many incarnations. How else can I see the character but as a man? I mean, he's an alien man. He's not of the planet Earth. He's a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. He has 2 hearts. He can regenerate. But to me, and to a lot of other fans, I can't say all the fans, but to a lot of other fans like me, he is a male character. He's a he, not a she, a he. So if you're going to try to force
the reasons were ridiculous. Yeah, it's just like they there was no they just looked at everyone who auditioned and like, okay, you got tits, fine, you can audition. Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh, but you know what I mean. It's like that's the mentality.
Yeah, exactly. And they try to use the fact that the Doctor is an alien as their excuse to change the Doctor into a woman. Yeah, the Doctor is an alien. He's a male alien. Why do you think he's been male for so many years?
The Doctor has a dick.
Yeah, hello. I mean, the Doctor does not have breasts and a vagina to me. I'm sorry. Romana does, but not the Doctor. You know, I mean, I'm sorry. You know, the Doctor had been male for so many years, so I see the character as male. You know,
it's like you said when Peter Capaldi was leaving, you said that a penis regenerating into a vagina is not believable.
And it's not. It's just not. And like I said, the fact that they went ahead and did it anyway because they had an agenda, and then they treated the regeneration of the Doctor from male to female like it was no big deal. I mean, I think the Doctor would have been in shock, having never been female before and having to adjust to a female body, which the Doctor had never, ever had before, before the Timeless Children episode, of course. And I think the Doctor would have been in a bit of shock about it, and I think they should have addressed that. They should have had some fun with it, and they should have been respectful to the fans about it. And I still say it would have been of the utmost importance if Chibnall and the BBC had assured the fans that, you know, we're not closing the door on the Doctor being a man again, that there's nothing wrong with the Doctor being a man. The Doctor will be a man again at some point, but we just want to do something a little different and see how a woman in the role fares. If they
Yeah.
had just shown respect to the fans about it and assured that the Doctor will be a man again at some point, I would have said, okay, fair enough. They didn't do that. And they
No.
made it sound as if the Doctor will never be a man ever again, which is just so offensive.
And then Jodie's comment made it out to be like it was a bad thing. It's like, well, okay, you see it as a white male gaze. We see it as a fucking great show,
Yeah.
What's the problem,
Yeah, and she clearly didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. She was never ever a fan of the classic series.
No.
She only did the show because number one, she wanted to work with Chris Chibnall, which she had worked with before. I guess the show's called Broadchurch.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
she wanted the iconography of she wanted the fame. She wanted the attention of being the Doctor and the first female Doctor. So
yeah, she wanted to be this feminist icon as the first ever female Doctor. But not because she was a longtime fan of the show.
Yeah.
And when I look back at the classic Doctor Who series, which I am a longtime fan of, I'm just going to be honest with you. The classic series ran for 26 years. There is only one single shot in that whole 26-year period that you could say, admittedly, is a male gaze shot. Just one that I can think of, and that was in the Tom Baker story that just so happens to be my favorite Tom Baker story of all, which is the Sunmakers.
Yeah.
Where his companion was Leela, played by Louise Jameson. She kind of dressed up in skimpy, warrior woman attire. There is this one shot, maybe you know what I'm talking about, where she's climbing down a ladder and the camera's pointing right up.
They're doing like the upskirt reveal. Yeah.
Okay, I admit, yes, that shot has always struck me as what you would call a male gaze shot. I admit it. I don't deny that. But in the 26-year run of the classic series, that's it. One male gaze shot in 26 years. One. So
and again, it's not like, William Hartnell has been, like going around and saying, "Oh, women are," he was a bit grumpy at first, but he in the end accepted his granddaughter and Barbara, all the female companions he had. And what makes me angry is that certain people who love Jodie, they kind of blame the downfall of the show on Peter Capaldi, and I think that's wrong. Like saying, "Oh well, Peter Capaldi was a shit Doctor, so that's why they cast a woman, because they knew that she'd be better than him." It's like, no. Capaldi was a good Doctor. He was let down by the bad scripts, and I heard, but like I haven't seen the last story yet of Capaldi's, but I've heard it's terrible because apparently it really like messes up William Hartnell's Doctor. Apparently he turns into a complete sexist. I mean, it's Moffat's last ever story.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely infuriating. I mean, you're right. I mean, I haven't watched it, but I've read about it, and I've read the plot synopsis of that final story with Capaldi, and I've also heard from Jack, who has watched it, and they basically make Hartnell's Doctor basically a sexist, and I forget the name of the actor who's playing the Hartnell incarnation.
David Bradley, is it?
Thank you, David Bradley. Yeah, that his portrayal, that they made the first Doctor a sexist, and that is just so infuriating. If William Hartnell was still around, I mean, he would have been livid that they did that to his Doctor. Because I mean, okay, his Doctor was irascible, but he showed his kindness, and that he did have a good heart, or a good pair of hearts underneath. It just took some time to come out, but it did come out. In fact, I think it came out by the time we got to the third story, Edge of Destruction, and what he and Susan and Ian and Barbara went through in that short little story, being cooped up in the TARDIS for 2 episodes. I mean, I think it definitely changed his Doctor, and changed his Doctor for the better. And but I mean, they were setting up this whole feminist angle thing before that, which is why I don't go any further with Doctor Who than Capaldi's first season, because I mean, the moment they made the decision, or rather the moment Moffat made the decision to change the Master into a woman, I mean, for me, that's the signal for me personally to get out of Doctor Who Dodge, because it's only going to get worse from here, as far as I'm concerned. And again,
Yeah.
as I
I
said,
mean, there might be some comfort in knowing that the scripts might get better, but only if the ideals of the show change. I mean, if Russell keeps the show focused on the creative side of it, like the storytelling and the entertainment value, then it might at least be a bit better than it was. And again, also half of it depends on who plays the role. So Russell can only do so much, but I don't know. I just think Doctor Who's if this new series after she leaves, if it doesn't work, the show's on its way out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm being optimistic because it is Russell T Davies, but the fact is, Russell T Davies has said that he is supportive of a female doctor. He is supportive of what Chris Chibnall did with the Timeless Children, retconning the series, and that has me concerned. And as I was telling you earlier, when the mic wasn't on, but I'll repeat it here. If Russell T Davies makes the next Doctor a man, that's a good sign. But if it's going to be another woman, then I just don't think anything is going to change, and the show is just going to stick to this whole feminist stuff that I just don't like, and I don't think anything's going to change. I mean, as you say, the quality of the scripts may be a little bit better, but still, I don't feel anything really is going to change for the better if he keeps the Doctor female. And again, it's nothing against women. Ladies, I love you, but again, the Doctor to me is a man. There was nothing wrong with the Doctor being a man, and I want if Davies changes the Doctor back into a man, then that's a good sign for me. But if the Doctor is still female, then I just don't think anything's going to change.
Yeah, and specifically on Russell T Davies, because this is meant to be sort of about him. But I remember watching the first series that he produced in 2005 with Eccleston. I watched bits and pieces of it when it first aired, and then I was kind of enraptured by it. And it was it was so good because it had this kind of blockbustery sort of cinematic quality, and it was really, and for a TV budget, I thought, wow, this is great. I mean, they put so much passion into it, and it's a shame to hear about the ridiculous shooting schedule, but that aside, the end result looked terrific, and it proved that the show wasn't dead and it had life in it. And I thought, this is amazing, and I always appreciated that about his Doctor Who, that it felt very blockbustery, cinematic. The stories were great as well. They were almost like little films in themselves. And then, I mean, you still felt that sort of spectacle with Moffat stuff. And the production values for the new series are really good for a TV budget. Don't get me wrong. And I think that's part of the appeal. But again, the difference then with 2005 was that we didn't have all these stupid agendas, and he wrote Rose Tyler almost as the center of the show at the time. Like, the audience were sort of like, she was the audience character, and we went on this journey with Rose through the Doctor. Like, the Doctor was the main character, but the first episode was called Rose specifically because, it was the best way for us to be reintroduced to the show through the companion, and so I know it's not part of the classic series, but to say that was through a white male gaze would be wrong. We saw it through a woman's eyes, so that's the point. And again, but they did it in a way that it didn't take away from the fact that the Doctor, that it was still the Doctor's show, but it introduced her character brilliantly, and it kind of set us up for the formula. And throughout the series, it is a two-hander. It's the Doctor and it's Rose, together. And that's what works about Doctor Who, is that you have the companion is there to balance out the scenes with the Doctor. And if you have a male Doctor and a female companion, I don't think you can go wrong with that. I think that obviously, depending on the scripts, I think if you strike the right balance, you have a pretty equally matched dual protagonists, throughout the series. Obviously, if you have more than one companion, then you have to work that in as well. But that's why I think Russell did a really good job with Rose. Say what you will about the character, but the way they approached the character to begin with, I thought was genius. And I have to say, I hope that Russell does the same thing. If he is going to do a female Doctor, have a male companion and balance out the scenes. so it doesn't feel like they're pushing agendas. If the Doctor is
enough of this male bashing bullshit. Enough with the male
Yeah.
bashing. You know,
stop
please.
the male bashing. Have a male companion, just one male companion with, if you're going to have a female Doctor, and then at least balance out the drama with those two. And if they're going to stop the agenda stuff, then maybe it is worth a chance. But to be honest, I'm not going to hold hopes too high. But you know, I just, again, at the very least, let the scripts be better. You know, it's all we can hope for, really. At this stage.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when Russell T Davies was running the new show, and right from that first episode, Rose, I mean, you could clearly see that the show was in good hands, that it was being run by somebody who clearly knew what he was doing and clearly had great love and respect for the show. That wasn't quite the case with the TV movie with Paul McGann. I mean, the producer, I believe, was named Philip Siegel, and he clearly was a Doctor Who fan, but I think we both agree that that TV movie has continuity errors all over the place. And, and they were trying to cram way too much information about the Doctor and his history into 90 minutes, which was also not the right way to go. Whereas Russell T Davies and the new series, he gradually gave you the information about the Doctor and his history, you know, episode by episode. He didn't try to throw it all at you in that first episode, Rose. And you know, it was much better written, and there was clearly the sense that, you know, here was somebody who really knows the show, really truly knows the show, because I don't think Philip Siegel, for all of his best intentions with the TV movie, or the writer, whose name I can't remember right now, the writer of the TV movie, they clearly did not do their homework about the Doctor's history, with all the continuity errors all over the place. Even though the one thing they did get right, or a couple of things they got right, Paul McGann is the Doctor, brilliant. He was brilliant, and the production, like the interior of the TARDIS, was wonderful. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. But the script was so messed up with continuity errors. But with Russell T Davies, you know, the writing was great, the direction of the show was great, and how it just gradually gave you the information about the Doctor's history episode by episode. That was the right way to do it. And you're absolutely right that it was probably a very bold move to call that debut episode of the new series Rose, because the main aliens in that one, of course, are the Autons, who first appeared in the John Pertwee era. I mean, he could have easily just called the episode, you know, Return of the Autons or something, but the fact that he just called it Rose.
Rose.
That's new. Wonder what this is about. And it turned out that it's named after the new companion, and getting to know her better. And that really was in the end the right way to go, because I don't know if you would have grabbed as many people if you called it Return of the Autons or Revenge of the Autons or something like that. But
I mean, I don't know. The only other title that I could think of they could call it is The Oncoming Storm, which refers to the Doctor. But I don't know. I mean, it's calling it Rose, I think, makes sense, given that we focus on her pretty much the whole story. I mean, and it's a great episode. It's a really good hooker, and it's sorry, I don't mean hooker is in the
not that kind of hooker. Not that kind of hooker, folks.
I just realized what I said. No, it's a really good sort of hook back to the show, and like the scene that really, I think Peter Capaldi talks about it when Eccleston takes her hand and he talks about the turn of the earth, and then he says, "That's who I am. Now forget me, Rose Tyler." That moment is where I think we saw the potential of the writing and the way that the show could be very dramatic as well as funny and entertaining. You know, and Eccleston, actually an unusual choice at first. You don't think of him to be the sort of guy that would play this role, but I think he approached it really well, and we saw a different type of Doctor. And I think, you know, introducing the whole Time War thing and having the Doctor be damaged and broken, and I think that's why he wears the leather jacket, and he's much harder, and he's not harder, but he's sort of he's a bit more conflicted, and he's a bit more darker than maybe some of his other personas. But you know, I think it works, and I think it was all cleverly written into the series, and that first series is incredibly strong, and it's a shame
it is
left at the end, but well, at least he did it. You know, I really love his series, and there isn't really a bad story in there, which goes to show how much care and detail they put into it. And I think it honestly, I think it honestly blew people away. To be honest, it still blows me away today that it's some of those episodes I would watch on the big screen. They are that cinematic. It's just amazing. It really is. I mean, I've got them on Blu-ray as well, and yeah, I never get tired of watching them. And Eccleston, what a charming Doctor, and I think Russell's good at taking risks. I think he is good at taking risks, but I don't know if he will do that this time. It depends on the direction of the show, where they're going to take it, or whether that will just be the same thing again, like whether it will be like Jodie's era 2.0, which hopefully it won't be. But I mean, part of me doesn't care, but part of me is now slightly intrigued because Russell is back. So I'm kind of 50-50 about the new series now. Yeah, I'm kind of willing to give it a chance with reservations, if that makes sense,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's Russell T Davies. I mean, I'll give it a chance, but it all hinges. I mean, for me, the first sign of where the show under Russell T Davies again will go is who the next Doctor will be. If the next Doctor will be male or female, that's the first sign for me. But let's see if he can get back on track, because there really truly would be nothing wrong at all with just letting the show, putting the show out to pasture and just letting it rest, because it has gone on far longer than most other television programs. I mean, it's the longest running sci-fi show in history, and I think one of the longest running television shows in history. I think the only television show that's been around longer than Doctor Who, if my memory serves me right, is the American television show Meet the Press, where they have political discussions every single week about this week's news, and that show has been on in America even longer than Doctor Who. Meet the Press. But as far as a fictional television program, I think Doctor Who is the longest running one. So it has already had a spectacular run and then some, with the classic series. And then, it briefly came back with the TV movie, very briefly. And then the new series starting in 2005. And I said this in the video I made for my channel, and I'll say it here again. I don't know if the Doctor should just go on forever and ever, unless Russell T Davies can give me a reason to come back to the show, which I guess remains to be seen. I mean, I'll give it a chance. I mean, Russell T Davies, we know what he's capable of, and we know he has great love for the show. But after what Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker have done to the show, I have to take Russell T Davies' return with a grain of salt and just say, okay, wait and see.
Yeah, I think it's going to go one way or the other. I think we're either going to be really surprised and impressed with the way with what he's done, or we're just going to be disappointed, and it's going to be more of the same, with slightly better scripts, perhaps. But I think that's honestly how it will be. But like you say, it's had such a long run. If you can include both eras of the show, which is amazing. And I think in the UK, the only show that's run a bit longer than Doctor Who is probably Coronation Street at just over 60 years. So not much longer, but obviously Doctor Who's 60th is coming up in a couple of years' time. I mean, Doctor Who will definitely go on till then. Obviously, it's going to go on for another few more years with Russell at the helm. Russell will hopefully be there. If all goes well, Russell will probably stay for maybe at least 2 to 3 years. Seems to be the average nowadays. I mean, considering he's run the show before, I guess he'll probably stay as long as he feels he's got ideas for it. But I think he's got to try and remove what he's done before a little bit. Like, he's got to try not to think about too much about the David Tennant era and Christopher Eccleston. But I'm confident Russell can at least produce better scripts. So at the very least, I think we're in for some better scripts. But again, like you say, taking it with a pinch of salt. The show's been on for a long time. The state of it is not good. it's pushing these weird agendas. It doesn't feel like the same show anymore, and that's the downside. Russell needs to make it feel like the show he produced in 2005 to 2009, because those years were glorious to be a Doctor Who fan. I mean, they were the years that really touched me a lot because they got me into the show. And as I said, David Tennant is my favorite Doctor, and part of that was down to Russell T Davies. So I have huge respect for the guy, but again, you know, I have to go in sort of with the reservations. Otherwise, I'll probably be more disappointed than I want to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens to it. I mean, the show has already had a spectacular run, and even though it is sad that we are still missing some early episodes of the classic series, you know, from both the William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton eras, even so, you know, we already have a vast wealth of Doctor Who episodes to watch and enjoy, with a whole lot of doctors. And I think it's up to Russell T Davies. I can't speak for anybody else, so I'll just speak for myself. It's up to Russell T Davies to give me a reason to come back to Doctor Who, because right now I just don't see the reason.
Other than watching the old episodes.
Right. Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I will always be a huge fan of Doctor Who up to a point. I mean, I'm sorry I have to add that annotation, up to a point, because I only go as far as Peter Capaldi's first Doctor. But as I've said, you know, I just don't agree with them changing the Doctor into a woman after he'd been a man for so long. I see the character as a male character. Just a moment. Hold on. If I can just pull up something on the... hold on. Where's the cam here? Hi there. I hope this shows up. See this picture? See this picture?
Yeah.
This is why I prefer the Doctor as a man, folks. You've got the picture right in front of you. This is why...
It's fucking Malcolm Tucker.
Yeah. This is why I see the Doctor as a man. End of story. So there.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe.
There you go. I mean, I would also like to add, the only way I personally would have accepted the Doctor as a woman, and I've said this before in a video on my channel, but I'll say it here. If they had started introducing female doctors early on in the classic series, like maybe right around the time of the third or fourth Doctor. And
wasn't it said, like, the whole point was that the Time Lords Time Lords and Ladies were different. Like regeneration was you couldn't regenerate. You had to regenerate into the same gender. Like, wasn't that said in one of the earlier stories? Or
yeah, well, I mean, the Doctor had been male for so long, and so I had always been in the impression that the Doctor was an established male character. But if you really wanted to throw female doctors into the mix, then that should have been something from the get-go when they started the show, or maybe right after William Hartnell had left, because, you know, he wasn't in the greatest of health, and so they brought in Patrick Troughton to replace him. But once it was established that the Doctor could regenerate, that was the time where they could maybe introduce the idea that the Doctor could be either male or female every time the Doctor regenerates. And if the order of Doctors had been, you know, male, female, male, female, male, female, you know, that kind of mix, then back then, as I'm growing up watching the show, I would have said, okay, the Doctor is a character that can be either male or female. And I would have accepted it back then, no problem. But the fact is, the order of Doctors has been male, not finished, male, female. So it doesn't add up. They clearly had an agenda. You don't.
Yeah. Not only was it too late in the day, it was done for the wrong reasons.
You don't wait 54 years to change the gender of a popular TV character. That is absolutely absurd. So it's not about being sexist, folks. It's about the principle of the thing. Okay.
And also, can I add something not about the Doctor, but about the TARDIS? Yeah. In the Matt Smith era, there's constant sexual references to the fact that the TARDIS is a woman and the TARDIS is sexy. I mean, I know you liked the story, but the Doctor's wife, the consciousness of the TARDIS goes into this woman. It's a really weird story. And then since then, the Doctor calls the TARDIS sexy, all the time. It's just like it's just really necessary. I mean, I thought my understanding of it was that this was a family show, but okay, maybe not. And also, what grossed me out was the fact that Moffat tried to do these weird family tie-ins where, like the story, the wedding of River Song, it's established that the Doctor and River get married, and somehow that fixes time. No idea why, but there you go.
Yeah.
And then when they're reflecting on how the Doctor survived, they're like, "How did you know?" "Well, I'm his wife." And then Amy says, "I'm his mother-in-law." And then and then everyone thinks back to that moment of when she kissed the Doctor in Flesh and Stone. It's like, oh God, what the fuck? Like, I did a little like someone edited a video on YouTube with that scene, and then it was like a remix, and then it cut back to that kiss scene. Oh, it's fucking disgusting. I don't know what Moffat was going for in that. Like, that's when the show started to become really weird and sexualized, and then it went from that to being this sort of PC agenda. It's like the whole nature of the show just changed after Russell left. Like, at least when Russell was there, the first time, the show, it was about what it was supposed to be about, and ever since they blew up the TARDIS and David Tennant left, it's like the show kind of, it really changed. Sometimes not for the better, but again, not all of it was terrible, but you understand what I'm saying. It was never the same. The new series, anyway, it was never the same after David Tennant left.
Right. Yeah. I mean, once they started introducing all this feminist stuff, I mean, Stephen Moffat led the charge on this. He set up all this stuff for Chris Chibnall. He really did set it up. I mean, again, when there was that great mini episode when Paul McGann came back to play the Doctor for all of 7 minutes, and we got to see how the Eighth Doctor.
7 minutes.
7 minutes. I mean, they were 7 glorious minutes, but that's all. 7 minutes and done. But basically, it was to show us how the Eighth Doctor regenerated into the War Doctor, not the Ninth Doctor, as we thought, into the War Doctor. But the fact is, at one point in that mini episode, the Sisters of Karn offer the Doctor a potion that can change him into a woman. He doesn't take that potion, but the fact that he's offered the potion to change him into a woman, that's kind of a bad sign of where Doctor Who is going to be going soon. And then, of course, at the end of Peter Capaldi's first season, Moffat changes the Master into a woman, which was obviously a practice run for them changing the Doctor into a woman. Obviously, I mean, it's right there in plain sight what Moffat was doing there. And no disrespect to the actress Michelle Gomez, very talented. I thought she was a fun villainess, but I just didn't buy her as a female Master. Yeah. And then we get to the episode where that white male Time Lord changes into a black female Time Lady. And then that stupid joke about, oh, that was my only male incarnation. How do you put up with all that ego? Yeah, screw you, Moffat.
Honestly, that could very well be, for me, the worst Doctor Who story of all time. I mean, it's down there. It might. I mean, because of that, it might even be worse than Time and the Rani. Or
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you how that would be bad. And then they kept doing it in Capaldi's final season. Yeah. Again, I heard about the episode where the Master comes back. Although now the Master's male again. They found a way to bring John Sim back at the Master. That's nice. But then I know there's some line in there where the Master says to the Doctor, "What, do you expect the whole universe to change female?" And the Doctor goes, "I hope so." I mean, really? Yeah. And then, of course...
you'll be happy to know that there is a new male Master in Jodie's era.
Oh, sure, because, all women are wonderful and all men are evil. So, yeah, let's make the Master a man again, because men are evil. Yeah, and then, of course, Capaldi's final episode, they bring back the First Doctor. I'm sorry, the actor's name one more time?
John Sim.
No, I'm sorry. The actor playing the First Doctor in.
Sorry, David Bradley.
Thank you. David Bradley playing the William Hartnell First Doctor, and they turn him into a sexist, which is clearly offensive. And then finally, the big offense of all, the Doctor himself changes into a woman. Jodie Whittaker.
And the thing is, as well. Sorry to interrupt. The one thing about Jodie's comment, you can't say that it's all done through a white male gaze, in such a negative, derogatory term, because times were different back then. I'm not
Yes.
excusing, sexist behavior. Of course not. What I'm saying is, like, the show was always careful with that, and it was,
Yeah.
I mean, there would be times when the Doctor would berate his companions. He'd have a go at them, and he'd push them, and like certainly with Ace, the Doctor would manipulate his companions on occasions, and it would show how dark the character was, but it was never done as a sexist thing. And even Pertwee would kind of berate Joe at points and say, "Oh, you stupid girl," and all that kind of thing. But it was done tastefully. It was always done with respect, and
Right.
and again, this was like the 70s, the 60s, the 80s. Times were different back then, and I'm not saying like the way they presented the companions was perfect. Of course, it wasn't. Look at Perry, for example; she was over sexualized. But you know what? I think I guess this is proving the point that each era of Doctor Who is a product of its time, and that's one thing you can see from the natural evolution and progression of the show.
Oh yeah,
and I guess this sort of era, these last kind of 10 years, I guess, will be since the Matt Smith era, will be a reflection of this sort of slow integration of the Me Too movement and all this PC bullshit in Doctor Who, in this over sexualized, quote unquote mature, version of the show, which I don't personally agree with. I just think it's not so much an ascent into a new era; it's a descent. It's descended into it's a mess. Basically, the show is a mess at the moment, and I'm sorry, no disrespect to anyone who likes it at the moment. That's fine. I'm not saying you can't watch it. I'm just saying I personally don't think the Doctor Who is the show anymore, and that breaks my heart to say that. It really does. I want to like Jodie Whittaker. I do. I just don't see why they cast her, other than the reasons we've already stated. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not telling any of you listening to this, don't watch the new Doctor Who show with Jodie Whittaker. We're not telling you what to think. We're just telling you what we think.
You won't. You won't.
Yeah.
When you take that advice, it's up to you.
Yeah. I mean, if you like Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, that's fine. If she's your favorite Doctor, that's fine. I mean, to each their own. But my perspective is that, and I am a longtime Doctor Who fan, going all the way back to the classic series. And to me, number one, the Doctor is a man. I love women, but the Doctor to me is a man, and that's my final word on that subject. And number two, I just don't like this whole feminism thing that's been pressed down upon Doctor Who.
Yeah, and not even just layer Doctor Who, to the like show. Society, like the media. It's been pressed down everywhere.
Literally taking feminism and literally pressing it down hard onto Doctor Who as another layer to the show. And for me, it just doesn't work. That's not the Doctor Who series that I know and love.
You know how ridiculous this has got? It's like saying the movie Cats. It's like somebody boycott. It's like the like a whole pack of dogs boycotting it because they didn't cast dogs in the lead role. That's really, how stupid it is.
And as you said a little earlier, Ollie, I mean, the way the classic Doctor Who series was, I mean, the Doctor always cared about his female companions. I mean, he did have skirmishes with them. And then, yes, I know there was that one controversial bit where Colin Baker's Doctor tried to strangle Perry, although thankfully he stops himself in time. And he and Perry did go on to have a very good friendship, believe it or not. Okay, they did. His relationships with his female companions have not been perfect, I admit, but overall, in the end, he cares about each and every single one of his companions, male or female. And I think with the female companions, he's very fatherly with them overall. They can have their occasional disagreements, but he does indeed care about them. But if you still have any gripes about the female companions, so just for example, how some of them might have dressed on the show.
Like Perry.
As you say, Ollie, it was a product of its time.
Yeah.
It was made years ago. It was a product of its time, just like the criticisms we keep hearing now about the older James Bond movies with Connery and Roger Moore in particular. Those movies are products of their time.
Exactly. I mean, if I've said this before, if you release those movies today, certainly the Connery ones, they'd be panned. They wouldn't release them. Well, certainly in this country. I mean, given the way
back in the day, Connery could get away with smacking a woman on the rear end.
Yeah.
which I think he did once or twice. Or the fact that him and Roger Moore, I mean, Lazenby not so much. He only did the one movie, but that Connery and Moore would just, bed woman after woman after woman. And the women of today can complain all they want, but those movies were products of their time. It was a much different world back then when Connery and Roger Moore did their Bond films.
And the
And
thing is,
I
like,
really
Bond
feel
was always written that way as a misogynist,
yeah,
have
and
evolved the
you can't,
character
yeah,
over
you
time,
can't,
certainly with the Craig movies. But
yeah,
I
and
agree with you.
you can't blame Sean Connery himself, rest in peace. You cannot blame Roger Moore himself, rest in peace. They were products of their times, those particular movies. And I just think people today, especially the women of today, need to be a bit more forgiving to those earlier films. They would
or
never
at least
make
a little
those
bit
kinds.
more open to discussion, open to the concept of, not being so. I don't know if right wing's the right word, like so forceful of their own beliefs. It's okay to feel the way they do. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it's the way they execute their points. That's what angers me. It's the fact that they're like, oh, my opinion is right, you're wrong. You're wrong. Men are wrong. No, that's not why.
Yeah.
Where does this attitude come from? I don't get it.
I know.
On the subject of,
Not all men are bad. Not all men are evil. And especially us white guys, we're not all bad. We're not all evil. So please don't treat us like that. Okay.
I mean, on the subject of the Doctor as well, like, the Doctor's flawed. Like, that's the thing. He's a character. He's supposed to. He's not supposed to be angelic. It works for the show that you're meant to show his flaws and his vulnerabilities. Right. So that's why with some of his companions, he mistreats them and he gets it wrong because he's a character and he doesn't understand. He's a very clever man, but he doesn't understand all the time. Sometimes he goes too far. He goes dark. And so where is all this thing coming from? Oh, he doesn't treat his companions well. It's all a white male gaze. Oh, bullshit.
Bullshit. And he doesn't save everybody. He's not able to save everybody in his adventures. I mean characters do die, and they clearly show that for all of his goodness and for all of his skills, he can't save everybody. So he does have his limits,
exactly. And like some of the Doctors that show the best range of that, I think certainly Pertwee and Tom Baker. I think definitely the first few classic Doctors, and I would even argue David Tennant and even McCoy, like they all showed range, and the way they were written was that the Doctor wouldn't always be the good guy, and I think that was clever the way they wrote the character. But it just seems like Jodie's version is just a goofball, like almost. I think she's almost trying to copy Matt Smith in a way, and some of his mannerisms. Like Matt Smith played it quite goofy, but he did keep it dark and serious.
Yeah.
As it went on, but what I saw of Jodie, it was just like, oh, look at this, oh.
What I've heard though, Ollie, is that she tries to copy David Tennant. That she's doing a David Tennant impression. And she plays the Doctor and making funny faces like that maybe Tennant would do at times or something like that. That she's copying David Tennant. That's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, I got from that first story, I got vibes of Tennant and Smith from her, and it just didn't seem like she's just fast talking. She's almost too jovial, like I didn't see much of a. I mean, when she tries to be serious, okay, it's not bad, but I never got the sense that they were taking her Doctor in a dark direction. It always seemed like she was trying to go for the goofier, sort of sillier version of the character.
I just feel that she's miscast not only because, I'm sorry, the Doctor to me is a man, I'm sorry, but also because she is not a long-time fan of the show. She never watched the classic series. She doesn't know the show from the inside out. She did.
I'm sorry, I don't think she has respect for it either.
No, she doesn't.
Well, maybe a bit more so now, having been in it, but certainly not the classic series. I don't think.
Yeah, even though she had the nerve to say when she made her announcement that she was leaving the show, she said, "Oh, I have so much love for the show." No, you don't. No, you don't. What a crock of shit.
Only because you love doing it. Yeah.
You're not a longtime fan of the show, Jodie. You only did it because you wanted to work with Chris Chibnall again, and because you wanted to be this feminist icon.
And the thing is as well, like we're not the only people that think this. There are people across the internet who have been ranting about Jodie Whittaker for 3 years. Since her arrival in the show. There are have been people that have been constantly, being negative about her with good reason, and it's not just one person. And it's not a campaign. They're giving justified reasons as to why they don't like her, and it's constructive, but it is also, some of them are rants. But I've seen a lot of people diss the Jodie Whittaker era and Chibnall. It's not popular. Not many people like it. There's a lot of 1-star reviews. Like it's crap. From one of my other YouTube friends who's been a long time Doctor Who fan, even he thinks that the Jodie Whittaker era is kind of shit. But
no, the ratings are definitely going down.
Yeah,
ratings definitely going down. I mean, and the fact that her seasons as the Doctor keep getting shorter and shorter, and this new season is only going to be 6 episodes. That's it, 6.
It's like less than half of what it used to be, and that's and it's only one story. They're doing a Trial of a Time Lord thing where it's series arc. It's called Flux or something.
Flux. Okay, and they're only doing 6 episodes. So if that's not a sign of what's going on behind the scenes, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, my friend Nick blames the COVID pandemic for that issue, which yes and no to that. I mean, okay, COVID has caused problems with the filming, but the budget, I don't think COVID has anything to do with the budget, really, when you think about it.
I mean, major films are still being made despite the pandemic, even though everybody's taking the precautions now of tests and social distancing and wearing masks where they have to wear masks. So I don't see why they couldn't have done more Doctor Who episodes. But just the fact, I mean, her seasons are getting shorter and shorter. I mean, her first season was 13 episodes, and then the second season I think was 10 episodes, and now this one's just going to be 6. It was originally going to be 8.
The first season she did was like 11 or 10.
Okay.
Oh no, it was 10, and then they cut it down to 8, and now it's 6. It's Capaldi's series were 12 episodes each, but it's getting shorter and shorter. There clearly isn't much of a budget left for this show, and they're not giving it enough funds. The BBC, they obviously want to keep it on air by bringing Russell back, but they obviously can't afford to spend much more money on it because not enough people are watching it. So it's tragic to see the state of the show once again is falling to pieces. But maybe a change of direction will help. But again, how much of a change it will be, and I'm not just talking about the Doctor, is going to be telling. And I think Russell is the only person who can potentially save it, depending on. Again, it depends on what he's going to do. I don't know if we're going to be in. I think we might have another 6-episode series. The seasons are probably still going to be quite short, but if he can at least turn it around somehow, then maybe there's hope. But to be honest, I'm at the point where I'm almost past caring, but I'm actually more curious to see the 60th. I think the 60th is going to be a big point of contention. Hopefully Russell honors the classic series with the 60th, and I hope he makes it quite a long episode, at least maybe even 90 minutes would be good. Like, bring back as many of the classic Doctors as possible. I know some of them are older now, but even as cameos, I mean, they're likely to bring back David Tennant and Matt Smith and maybe even Capaldi and probably Jodie Whittaker. I mean,
she's probably going to be in there. We just have to accept that.
I think and then there's the new Doctor as well, whoever he or likely she may be.
Well, I mean, they don't have to have all the Doctors in there. I mean, they can't anyway. I mean, the first 3 Doctors are gone. Hartnell, Troughton, and Pertwee, and also John Hurt is gone as the War Doctor. But just to have, as many as they can, or just have like a handful of Doctors, this would be a wonderful opportunity to bring back Paul McGann.
Yes.
and give him a lot to do in the special. And I hope they do. I mean, the man still looks great for his age. I mean, he deserves, if he can't
he's clearly up for it. Nobody's asking him to come back,
And they should. They should. I mean, for goodness sake, bring him back and give him something substantial to do.
I honestly think that Christopher Eccleston would come back. I honestly believe that if he was offered the chance to do it again, he would. I think he would now, considering he's done his Big Finish work.
Right.
Yes, he's a bit older, but so what?
Yeah. No, it'd be great to see him again. And the fact that, yes, you're right. He's done some audio stuff now. He's finally appearing, or or had been appearing at fan conventions before the pandemic started, and I hope he'll appear at some more in the future once the pandemic is under control. It's nice. It's really nice to see him embracing Doctor Who again, because he went through a period where he wasn't embracing Doctor Who so much. I guess because of all the behind the scenes garbage that had happened while he was there. But now he's really embracing playing the Doctor again. And yeah, I hope he comes back for the 60th anniversary special. I sure hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so too. But I mean, yeah, it's so weird, isn't it, to see how the show has changed. And you know, if when you look at it from the 60s when it started with Hartnell to now, you could never have predicted the ways it would have gone. I mean, even the classic series, whenever the show, you know, changed the lead actor, it didn't feel like the same, but then it sort of did. You know, there was something about it which, I mean, the premise was always the same, and it had that same sort of charm. You know, with this Jodie Whittaker era, it literally felt like a different show, and also. Yeah. The logo that they use for Jodie's era, it's like the Merlin logo. So they just kind of, I think they changed too much of it. You know, I just think it's too much of a dynamic shift. Whereas at least when they went from male to male doctors, it still felt like the same show. Well, I mean, okay, when like showrunners changed, it may have felt different. Like when David Tennant left and Matt Smith came in, it did for a while feel a bit different to me. But then I got used to Matt Smith and thought, okay, this kind of works. And then going to Capaldi as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's the same, but it's different in a sort of weird way, but not with Jodie.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's not Doctor Who anymore. Now it's feminist Doctor Who. You know, it's Gloria Steinem presents Doctor Who.
It's Jodie Who.
Yeah. It's not Doctor Who anymore. It's not my kind of Doctor Who anymore. Now it's somebody else's kind of Doctor Who, and you know, whoopty shit for them, but not for me. It's, you know, it's just not the Doctor Who series that I know and love anymore. It's turned into something wholly other, and you know, for me, that's just very sad. You know, and they did it purely in the name of diversity and political correctness and raw girl power, and I think those were the wrong reasons to do it.
Raw girl power. Yeah.
I'm all for strong female characters. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I love the first Wonder Woman movie so much. I think that's a fabulous film. The second movie, not as much, but I mean, the first movie with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, fantastic. I love strong female characters like, you know, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Laura Croft. You have other strong classic female characters like Ripley from the Aliens movies, Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager, Sandra Bullock's character from Gravity. You know, I'm all for strong female characters as long as you don't bash men along the way. And these particular movies, these particular characters do not bash men. They're kick-ass women because they're just kick-ass women. That's precisely what they are. But they don't ever have the attitude of, you know, I'm a woman and I kick ass. No, they just go out there and kick ass. And they don't bash men along the way either. And I appreciate that. You know, that's the kind of strong female character that I love and support. But changing the Doctor into a woman and having her spout off all this anti-male bullshit when the character had been male for so many years, you know, is just absurd. Just totally absurd. And you know, it offends me as a longtime Doctor Who fan because this is not the character as I prefer the character to be. You know?
Exactly. And just to hammer home this point, let me read a review of The Timeless Child of IMDb.
Yes.
Headline: Poor, confused William Hartnell, you are the original Doctor, nobody else. They scored it 4 out of 10. Where did the TARDIS come from when the ship explodes? How did the Jadoon get in the TARDIS? Chibnall had some good ideas but failed to make a cohesive episode out of them. Way too many plot holes here to make this any higher than a score of 5 or 4. All I ask from those that blindly say this is excellent, please search for the definition of the word retcon and just see if you think, as I do, that it applies to this. Worst element, awful writing, awful companions, plot holes, the Doctor is no more Gallifreyan. That kind of sums it up, really.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, you know,
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
I'm sorry if this feels like we are kind of spouting this, but I'm sorry. I don't think enough people sort of understand where we're coming from. You know, we're not bashing for the sake of it. It's legitimate, constructive criticism. You know, we love the show. We absolutely love it, but not the current state of it. You know, I'd be lying if I said I was interested in Dodie Zero. I'm not. I'm really not. And all the reviews I've read and everything, it's just not good.
Yeah, it's just not Doctor Who anymore the way I like Doctor Who to be. It's not presenting me my longtime television hero the way I prefer my longtime TV hero to be. And I just think the better route would have been to do a spin-off series for Romana, the best known time lady in the history of Doctor Who, and I would have supported that to the hilt. But for them to raid the character of the Doctor himself and to do a character castration of the Doctor and force a sex change upon the Doctor after he'd been male for well over half a century on television, they clearly had an agenda behind it, and I just don't agree with it. You know, I'm all for women's rights. I'm all for strong women characters, but the Doctor to me was and is an established male character. You know, and there was nothing wrong at all with the Doctor being male. He was one of the most wonderful male characters that had ever been created. I mean, he was a male. He is a male character that males can look up to, and a male character that females can look up to. And to force feed us a female version of the character after all these years, I just don't agree with it. I'm sorry. And again, it's not about being sexist. It's about the principle of the thing, you know. And I prefer the Doctor as a man. You know, that's how I see the character, and I'm not going to deviate from that. That is how I see the character, male.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to force feed us a female Doctor, well, then I'm not interested. Sorry. If you're interested, that's fine. You go ahead. You watch the show. You enjoy the show. If you love Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, good for you. But I prefer the Doctor as a man, so I only go as far as Peter Capaldi. You know, Hartnell to Capaldi, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, you've been respectful enough to say, you know, people who want to watch it, that's fine. And I agree. Yeah. You know, they can do that if they so wish.
Yes.
But I think that pretty much is it. There's not much else to cover.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we'll leave it there. But is there anything else you'd like to add before we call it a night?
Just to say that you know, good luck, Russell T Davies, when you take over the show again, and we will see if you get Doctor Who back on track. I mean, I've been saying that Peter Capaldi is my last Doctor. So, Russell, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to give me a reason to come back to Doctor Who. So I'm praying, I'm hoping and praying, Russell T Davies, you give me a reason to come back to Doctor Who. We will see.
Yeah, I second that. So yeah, thank you very much all for watching and listening, and stay tuned for more hangouts in the future. So until next time, I'm Mr. Tiles11. This is Alan Kalo. See you soon. Bye for now.